My old pal Hemmer was on the news at Fox when they didn't expect to get a video feed inside the New York State Supreme, but they did get a video feed. And Trump is sitting there at defense counsel table over at the plaintiff's table, which again, it's a civil case, is somebody from the AG's office. And AG Letitia James is sitting right behind that table, glaring at Trump. And when you watch this video, you will see the best, which is this crazy ass left-wing drunk judge. He may be drunk too. I don't think so. Arthur Engoron, who has enjoyed his moment in the sun this morning in full Lance Ito style. Look at this clip.
There's a camera in that courtroom. Was that supposed to be, or would they just be simply ushered out when we're gavelled to order?
Well, you're more likely to have cameras in state proceedings, and so it's up to the discretion of the judge. And quite frankly, I'm not too sure that both parties would want this. I think that Trump views this, the optics of this, as working to his advantage. Look, people looking at this live picture right now will be either filled with rage or they will be thrilled. And that's the problem, is that, you have James now being shown in the background. You've got Trump in the foreground, and it fulfills the narrative on both sides.
It's amazing to see how much this judge is smiling for the cameras and really enjoying being on screen and sticking it to Donald Trump, against whom he issued an order of summary judgment on most of the case last week. And the remainder begins today in a trial that said it could go through Christmas. Joining me now, my pal Dave Rubin, host of the Rubin Report. Dave, this is unbelievable. Like, I know people don't like Trump. I get it. But let me read to you the way Andy McCarthy describes the legal standard in this case. The law does not require a showing of any harm to anyone. That's my adding. The state need not prove that the defendant ever intended to defraud anyone, much less actually defrauded someone. It need not be established that any creditor or financial institution even relied on the defendant's misrepresentations, that those misrepresentations were material, or that anyone was actually fooled by them. The state just has to show that a defendant made false claims with enough persistence and repetition that at least two persons were, quote, affected, which, whatever it means, is not a synonym for harmed. Based on that, they have gone in there and they are basically taking over Donald Trump's businesses, Dave Rubin. Jonathan Turley, the voice you heard commenting on that Fox clip, isn't wrong. People are very likely to feel enraged by this, or I guess the other half will just be thrilled it's more of a pile-on as they destroy this man's life.
Yeah, there's just so much nonsense here. And Megyn, I love how you perhaps mistakenly said that the judge was drunk. I mean, he might be drunk, and now it's out in the ether, so we shall find out. But the way the guy was smiling at the cameras and everything else. By the way, this idea that Trump overstated the value of some of his properties, Megyn, you're a homeowner, I'm a homeowner, many people watching this are homeowners. You get someone known as an appraiser to come in. An appraiser tells you the value of the house. They look around, they look at the property, they look at the neighbors, they see what upgrades you've done. And this goes on not just obviously in a personal purchase of a home, but also in commercial properties and everything else. Now, I suppose it's possible that Trump, was talking to the appraiser and was like, but my name's on it, it's worth this much more or anything else. But the idea that they've just inflated the prices of all of these things is crazy. And by the way, Mar-a-Lago, Megyn, you've been to Mar-a-Lago, of course you have. The idea that they were appraising this thing at $18 million is absolutely insane. Look, it's a little rundown. It's not what it used to be, but the value of that land alone in Florida, and I know that's not directly related to what's going on here today, but just sort of broadly what they're doing to this guy, that it's worth $18 million. It's easily worth $80 million. And I'm not an appraiser, but you can trust me on that one. So they're going after him on every front. And to your point, I think that if the cameras, even if it's just a little handheld camera, iPhone, whatever, anything that's in there basically helps Trump. Because more than anything else, Trump wants the attention on him. He wants to show the hypocrisy of these people. He wants to show that the judge is kind of in on it with the prosecutor, and that ultimately it will pin him as the victim no matter what. There is not one Trump supporter, MAGA base guy, anything else. And I've been pretty critical of Trump, but there is not one person who will turn from Trump because of this. It might make a certain set of people a little more angry at him, but they're always angry at him. So what's the difference?
I feel like the biggest risk here is just yet another impediment to good people running for office. If this is the shit you have to, it's one, I mean, look, for me, I'd be more worried about the criminal stuff. I don't want to go to jail. I don't want to be separated from my family. Trump doesn't seem that worried about the criminal stuff. I have to say, even having sat with him, he just didn't seem that worried about it. I'm sure he doesn't like to think about anything negative, so I'm sure he's just not even like letting himself go there. But he definitely cares about his business and his plane and his money. And again, just reading to you about what this judge has already done from the Andy McCarthy piece on National Review. He writes, in the 35-page diatribe he issued last week when he granted summary judgment against Trump, he not only found Trump liable on the main cause of action, for good measure, he fined Trump's lawyers $7,500 apiece, ostensibly, writes Andy, for making frivolous arguments, mainly for declining to pretend that this judge, Engoron's hackdom, is actually legal acumen. I mean, for Andy, that is like, he never gets that mean. So he clearly doesn't like this judge or what's happening. And then he goes on, quote, most significantly, the good judge imposed the corporate death penalty, putting Trump, his adult sons, and the Trump organization out of business, taking away their state-issued business licenses, calling for the appointment of receivers to oversee the dissolution of Trump's business entities, and continuing to subject him to monitors. And now, after all that, the trial begins. Trial for what? What's left? Well, in addition to this one claim, writes Andy, James also brought 6 causes of action in which civil fraud claims are based on alleged violations of criminal laws. That is, this is basically the criminal case that prosecutors assessed that was not strong enough to bring, but a civil case based on the violation of those civil laws. James has the benefit of a civil burden of proof, which is just preponderance of the evidence. That's 51% more likely than not. And Engoron, the judge, rather than a jury, as the finder of fact. So I mean, the fix is in. He's going to have to sit there for this. You can see he's very angry. Here was Trump before he went into the courtroom this morning explaining why, for this one, he has decided, at least for week 1, to show up and go into court.
If I weren't leading in all the polls, or if I weren't running, I wouldn't have any of these cases. I wouldn't be seeing you this morning. But I'll be seeing a lot of you, because this is a horrible thing that's happening to our country, and we've got to get it straightened away. So we'll go in and see our rogue judge, and we'll listen to this man. And I think most people get it. People are getting it. I can tell you the voters getting it, because every time they give me a fake indictment, I go up in the polls.
He's not wrong about that. Can we just take one more look at the judge? Look at him in his moment of fame, Dave. I mean, this is exactly what you don't want when you go into court, especially when you're the defense. Look at him. He sees the camera comes on him. Look at him.
Oh,
takes off his jacket.
Yeah. Oh,
I mean,
it's like
his
a prom
glasses.
picture. Oh, no, look at me.
Takes off his
Megyn,
glasses. Right, look at me.
I have been very, very critical of Trump lately.
Yeah.
I've talked about many times, some of the times that I think you got him in that interview. And by the way, I said it on my show a million times. It's worth saying to your face, you did an absolutely great job. It's a tough interview to get, and it's a really tough interview to do. And you just did an absolutely incredible job with that thing. But as critical as I have been with Trump, Trump is at his best when he is exposing lies. And that's exactly what he is doing here. He is completely right. Nobody would be going after his business right now, and his various businesses, actually, if he wasn't running for president. That is completely true. My criticisms of him have been when he is using lies rather than exposing them. And I think he's done that quite extensively, especially with DeSantis in Florida. But when the system comes after him because it is afraid of him, I have no problem whatsoever defending him to the tilt, because he's right. What you just said is right. Ultimately, what will happen over time is that good people will just never get involved in politics anymore. And it's not just politics, Megyn. Good people will not do what we do for a living because they will look at us. Good people will not step up and go to school board meetings because they will scare the hell out of you. And that really is what I would say the meta fight is at the moment. The specifics of whether he defrauded somebody on an appraisal of a property or some of the other things you just read out there are largely irrelevant. And again, most people have made up their minds about Trump. So it's interesting that he's saying, hey, I'll be here for this one at least a little bit, because he knows he can use that as energy for the campaign.
Junk science. That's what the doctor calls many of those fruit and vegetable supplements on the market right now. Junk science because they use extracts of common produce department fruits and vegetables with basically no health benefits. But I want to tell you about Field of Greens. Field of Greens is different. They use the whole organic fruit and vegetable, not a watered down supplement. And it's backed by the Better Health Promise, which I'm going to tell you about. Each ingredient in Field of Greens was scientifically chosen to support vital organs like heart, lungs, and kidney health. Others support your immune system, your blood pressure, your metabolism, and healthy weight loss. Their Better Health Promise is simple. The next time you're at the doctor for a checkup, if the doctor does not say you're looking healthier than before, you get your money back. That's a deal right there. So let me get you started with 15% off your order. Visit fieldofgreens.com and use my promo code MK. Promo code MK at fieldofgreens.com. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.